So welcome everybody to Exploring Work Wednesday. Every month we're interviewing or we're meeting a couple of individuals who are blind or partially sighted to find out about their employment journeys. And I am really excited to welcome really great friends of mine, Shawn and Gail Bishop, to talk about their jobs. Welcome, you guys.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
Thanks for coming. All right, so let's start with just tell us about yourselves. So your visual impairment, eye condition, when you became visually impaired, where you grew up, and of course your job.
So I'm Gail. I grew up on Vancouver Island in Colwoods. It's just a little north of Victoria. My visual impairment is, I've been visually impaired since birth, and my condition's called rod monochromatism. So that means I have very low acuity, like visual acuity. I'm totally colorblind, and I have pretty extreme light sensitivity.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Awesome.
Yeah. And my name is Shawn, and I was born and raised in West Vancouver. Well, actually, I was born in North Vancouver, raised in West Vancouver. And I have 10% vision in my right eye, none in my left. I have glaucoma. I guess had since 3 months I lost my vision, so it was sort of as a result of a number of things. And for any that don't know, glaucoma is a condition where it's basically just a lot of eye pressure from fluid in the eye can cause some damage and some degradation for vision. So for me, I always say I'm lucky because 3 months in, I was I don't remember anything different, so it was just normal for me growing up. And I was able to adapt. So in terms of my job at the moment, I am an IT access identity administrator for City of Vancouver. And basically what that means is that at the moment, I look after basically the group of 10,000 employees for the City of Vancouver. And I kind of help to manage, there's a team of 3 of us, I help to manage them going in and out of different positions, help them work remotely during all of this COVID craziness, help them, all their emails get set up, just all the kind of administration, IT stuff, making sure that everybody's names are spelled correctly and that they can get where they need to go. So, yeah.
When did you guys start thinking about a career, and what factors contributed to the career that you ended up pursuing?
So I started thinking about a career in grade 12, which was a big stressor. And I didn't figure out my career probably till my late 20s. I started out, I loved chemistry in high school. So I went to community college and started taking chemistry, and I thought I'll be a lab tech. But all the while I was in school, I was doing little contracts, doing programming. So back in the day when I was in university, there wasn't stuff like Squarespace. You had to write your own HTML and JavaScript. So I could get hired doing websites for people. And I really enjoyed it. So once I went to university, out of community college, I went to university, I started taking programming courses, and I really, really enjoyed that even more than the science classes. So that's when I started thinking about working in computers.
Awesome.
Also, just for the record, Gail's way smarter than me. I just want to put that out there, like extremely so. So.
Thank you for clarifying that, Shawn.
No problem.
So what about you?
So for me, I started thinking about my career. Well, they tell you to start thinking when you graduate, right? Like that was kind of what I thought. But in my case, everybody was telling me what to do. Everybody was like, you should go into psychology. You're great with people. And they kept telling me, and by they, I mean teachers, like family, friends. They said, no, go into psychology. That's what you got to do. And one person told me go into IT, and I was like, no. Everyone's telling me go into psychology. So like somebody, I just thought, okay, fine, I'll go to school for psychology. And so I spent a lot of time doing that before I kind of burnt out and realized maybe this wasn't for me. But that took quite some time. It wasn't until I was 25, 26 or so, that pretty late, that I realized like IT just kind of like I was doing, like Gail, I was doing contract work fixing people's computers in my case. And somebody, one of my clients said, oh, I know somebody in the City of Vancouver. They're looking for somebody, like a technical person. And I thought, well, that's not really what I want to do or what I'm trying. But they said, just go talk to them. So I talked to them, and and I kind of saw the pay, and then I became happy, and I went, okay, well, we'll try it out. And that was 15 plus years ago. And I'm still there. And actually, I really do enjoy it, but we'll get to that. So
what education do you need to do your job? And what skills helped you get through the schooling?
So for being a software developer, you need some kind of undergrad degree, and then usually some like programming or technical courses. I went to university and did sort of the computer science program and left after third year. And then I went to a 2-year technical college that had more practical skills. And I picked it because they had the best co-op program on the island. That's where everyone was hiring from. So I ended up doing that. And you can do that now. Like there's a lot of boot camps now. So people coming out of university who we hire will do like those 2-3 month boot camps just to get really good at a certain language and get more proficient.
And in my case, it was kind of like, I wasn't even planning to be in IT. Like I said, I was contracting out, and I already had enough of the knowledge to get my foot in the door just from a lot of the practical experience I had. And so I did a lot of additional training while I was at work to get myself familiar with the systems that I work on. So, we deal with Active Directory and a lot of other technical things. And I ended up in some cases I actually took time off work myself to go to school to do training at Simon Fraser University. But again, not for the master's or undergrad degree, just for the practical stuff. And it's very helpful because that's a lot of the people are looking for that, like the quote unquote buzzwords and stuff, and they just like, oh, what courses do you have? So I did some of those, and I'm continuing to do it as I'm going along. So
what sort of accommodations did you need at school, or do you need at school for that extra learning?
I think in my case, it was weird because like a lot of the school stuff, now being older, I'm 44, I think, which is old. I tend to rely on this iPad. So I get the instructors to send notes ahead of time. I use the magnification on the iPad. I use a lot of the cloud services so that I can, if I need to work with my team, my classmates on something, that we're all looking at the same thing at the same time. So if I write down notes, other people can see it, or vice versa. I try to talk to the instructors ahead of time to ask them to be as verbal as possible, just to say, hey, how's it going? Here I am, by the way, and I find that in practical settings, that helps a lot. Not so much the university settings, but people who are actually out there working themselves, the instructors, that is, because instructors will, who do part-time teaching, part-time working, they're a lot more amenable to being helpful. So I think that's somewhat anyway. But.
Along that thread, what accommodations do you need in your jobs, and how did you go about ensuring that you had those accommodations? Gail.
So for me, I use large print. So I'm always been able to use the operating system that's available at work. So right now we're using Ubuntu, and I can zoom in and out using just the scroll wheel. Because I have light sensitivity, I can't sit near a window, I'll get headaches. And so I've always asked for being in the dark corner, which luckily most people don't want to sit in the darkest corner of the office. So that's always been pretty easy. And then stuff like meetings where there's presentations that are visual. In the past, I've just brought my laptop and started an online meeting with the presenter, and then I can just zoom in.
Are people receptive if they're doing some sort of a presentation and you ask to do that?
Yeah, I think because I'm in IT, they're kind of used to that technology.
Yeah.
Another big thing for me, it's not really asking my managers for accommodation, but I work with a lot of new developers, like people coming right out of university, and they need a lot of mentoring, which I really like about my job, but I won't be able to see their screen. So a lot of times I have to sort of teach them to be more verbal, to just read out what they're looking at, read out the error message, so I sort of know what's happening on their screen. Sometimes I've resorted to using my phone just to get a snapshot of their screen and zoom in, because I can zoom in. So that's sort of
cool.
I've virtually learned all about this kind of stuff, all these cool tricks from Gail, because I wouldn't have done it. And it works super well, man. Like that zooming in with the magnifier has saved me so many times. It's really useful. So that's a good one. But yeah, for me, it's more, I spent a lot of my working life so far. I've been with the City of Vancouver for 15 and a half years. And for 14 of those years, I worked at the service desk, the IT service desk. So we took calls and, for the whole organization, we did support for Vancouver Police and all that stuff. So it was a lot of phone work. And so accommodation for me, it's kind of an interesting story because my philosophy is that going into a job, I want to make sure that I could straight up do it without or I can bring my accommodation to the table. Like I have historically not liked asking people for accommodation. And that has been a problem for me because I think it's really important to do that and not worry about it. And for me, it's been a challenge. And when I came into the city, I was working along, I was, looking at the phone centimeter from the phone to see who was calling. And my supervisor came in and said, well, surely there's an easier way to do that, right? Like, it looks like it hurts your back. I'm like, oh, no, it's totally fine. I got this. Like, I was really trying to prove myself that, I could do it and I could pull my weight just as much as everyone else because I'm kind of used to, having to prove that in the past. And they said, no. There's got to be. Well, so I'm sure there is, but it's expensive. And they said, just take off the afternoon, go find something and come back to us with some options of what would make it easier. So I went out to Aroga at the time and got one of their, I looked at one of their little arms. They have these little arms that are cameras and poke down at the, I could poke it down at the phone and enlarge it onto a TV screen, like a monitor. And so I went back to the city. I'm like, hey, yeah, you could have this, but it's like $3,500 or something. And it's probably a lot. And I said, no, done. And that was how I learned that accommodation, they have budgets and they're not trying to, be weird about it or treat you specially, or at least they weren't in my case. They just have a budget and they're very happy to try to make life easier. So for me, it was asking, then I went and asked for like large print software because it was historically out of my price range. I didn't need it, but it sure sped things up. So it was, being able to not worry about asking for it so much. And that was something that was a bit of a challenge for me. And I think I'm better about it now for sure, because I got a 38-inch widescreen, ultra widescreen wraparound monitor now, which they gave me, which is pretty awesome. So I'm very thankful for that. And sorry, that was a long-winded answer, but.
No, that's good though. That's good to know that I think we all kind of have that worry that if we ask for something extra, especially if it's going to cost money, that, people aren't going to want to say yes. So
yeah, I mean, I don't like expecting it. Like, I don't want to go, well, I'm never going to be the person that walks in there and goes, oh, well, you can harm me, but you must buy me a huge monitor or you must do this. Like, I always want to make sure that I'm not going to put my foot in the door and put my hand out for someone else to shake unless I can pull my weight. Maybe it means that I have to work 5 times harder than everybody else. But it's really nice when people say, hey, here's something that maybe will help you work not 5 times harder, but 2 times harder. And they're not going to be worried about it. And so it's that really made me happy. And that's one thing I really appreciate about my current employer is that they're not worried about it. They're just, oh yeah, no problem. Go for it. So, yeah.
What challenges have you faced related to your vision in the workplace?
So for me, I kind of mentioned it before, is just teaching coworkers to be more verbal, because for me to try to read their screens and help them out, it's exhausting sometimes, even with large print. So the more I can teach them to read out loud or tell me what they're pointing at, like that happens in meetings sometimes too, because we'll go through a project plan or something and they'll say, well, that should be over there. And I have to teach them, you don't say that over there, just tell me what item you're working on or what you're talking about. And people do catch on, but it's definitely a challenge because as new people come into the company, I'm teaching them again, just say what you're looking at. That helps me a lot. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, it's if I have to go off-site, it's not a problem now, but like previously, if I have to go out to another building to have a meeting with someone, and find their cubicle or find their office or something. That's for me, it is a challenge. Just because of the limited vision that I have, being able to go, okay, well, where do I need to be? And I can ask, but sometimes it's just, I just have to go there before I can fully absorb the environment. So that's a challenge. I just try to get myself there earlier, and again, just try to ask a little bit more. Hey, where's this place? Where's this place? Or yeah, and people are good. People are really good. But that's definitely a challenge for me, is the wandering around, finding people,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing people too. Like if I run into the malls, it's like, hey, Shawn, how's it going? It's like, oh, hey, who am I talking to again?
Yeah.
It's a teaching thing. We teach them to say who you are.
Absolutely. And this is, I keep saying this, I learned a lot from Gail, because I just didn't do that before. I was just like,
Just
oh, hey,
hi.
I was the master. And Shawn, you probably remember this. I was like the master at being like, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's so good to talk to you. And I had this whole spiel down of and I'm sure we all do, right? Like trying to
fake
get
it,
into a conversation. Fake it. And then eventually you get enough information to go, oh yeah, I know who I'm talking to.
Yeah, keep them talking until you can figure it out.
Which is terrible. It's terrible. But, when you don't know and you're just trying to make your way, that's what you do. You just want to be chill, right? And it's, oh man, it sucks. Like I do say to all of you young people out there, I heard this when I was young, that when you get older, you just don't care as much. And it is so true. It sucks because old people can tell you that till you're blue in the face, or they're blue in the face, and you can't even comprehend how it could be possible. And I guarantee you it'll happen. I guarantee you. And oh, what a sweet day it is. What a sweet, sweet day it is when you're just like, it's fine. Oh, look forward to that when you're older for sure, because it's really good.
Okay. What skills do you think you've developed because of your visual impairment?
So it's kind of mundane, but it's been really helpful, as I'm awesome at taking notes just from listening without looking at slide decks or looking at the board. This is from my university years, and it's made me really efficient in taking meeting notes. And it's a skill that a lot of my coworkers don't have, so I'm kind of proud of myself for learning that. It makes my life a lot easier. And I've always kind of got an ear open too, which is helpful with mentoring. I'm always sort of half listening if anyone's frustrated or getting stuck. So that's my little skill.
Cool.
I think my skill is just understanding and maybe empathizing with the other people around me, and that because of my vision, in my case, it's not always obvious what's going on with me. People don't know. So I like to, a couple of things. So that's just the one thing, is empathizing with people around me, that, if somebody is in a bad mood or feeling the rage or whatever, I like to try to stop and go, well, they might be, almost certainly there's something going on and, I don't know about. So I try to have empathy with other people and just try to remember that everybody's got their own story. And my story is, no more or less than anyone else's story, but just try to understand that everybody's got their own unique circumstances they're trying to deal with at any one time. And it could be anything. So just try to take a step back. And then the other thing I think is just learning to being able to adapt to weird situations thrown at me very quickly, and being able to understand that there's always a solution out there. It's just, you got to kind of kick back and think about it a little bit and think outside the box. So I think thinking outside the box professionally has into my professional life has really helped me. And I think that's a skill that has come from just dealing with weirdness, visual weirdness. So, yeah.
What do you love most about your job?
So I love problem solving, and that's a big part of my job, is figuring out why there's a bug in the software, and then designing when we have new projects, I get to use some creativity with designing new things. And because tech moves so fast, I'm always learning something new. So I got to learn a new programming language over the summer, React.js, which is the Facebook's JavaScript library, and I'd never seen it before, and I just love that there's stuff thrown at me all the time that's totally new. So
for me, I really enjoy chatting with people. First of all, I did that for a number of years. I just getting to have a talk with so many different people out there. I really enjoy that aspect of it a lot. Obviously, I love the tech part of it because I'm a techie. I always have been very much into technology and trying new things. So that's one as well. And more recently now being an access person. So I moved from doing like first level troubleshooting for a good chunk of my career in the city thus far to being a tier 2 person that sets things up and fixes things. And so now I'm the person who gets to resolve the problems. And I love that. Now, every day I get to talk to people and fix their problems rather than saying, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine. We'll get you in touch with somebody. Now I am the person that they get in touch with. And it's always, they're always really happy to, obviously I get to fix their problems. So everybody's very happy. So it makes for a really good, positive working day. And yeah, I love it. I love it. It's a ton of fun. And it's a huge organization where I work. So I get to have all types of different things. And there's always new technology coming in. So I love it too. It's so fun.
Okay. We want to talk about disclosure. So when do you tell people about your visual impairment, or do you tell people in the workplace?
So for job searches, I've always, when I get phoned for an interview, that's when I disclose. And I just say, you know, I'm visually impaired. And if the interview panel has any questions on how I do my work as a visually impaired person, have them prepare a couple of questions. And I just feel that gives them a little bit of structure of what they can and can't ask me. And then they're not surprised when they meet me when I have my white cane, and they're not put off. They're kind of prepared and can get their head around it. For clients, it's usually when I set up meetings. So if I'm going to meet them in person, which doesn't happen very much in the past 6 months, but when I meet them in person, I let them know. If for clients, like we work with Lotto Quebec, I don't meet them in person. I don't bother disclosing. I don't feel it's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So,
how do people respond to you, especially the clients? Like, do they care? Are they curious? Like, are they put off?
I haven't felt any like discomfort from clients, partly because you sort of have a relationship with them before you meet. In the IT world, they usually know our company and have talked to me on the phone, so it's not totally cold. With interviews, I've definitely, like, I had an interview with Capilano University like 4 years ago as a client, and that person was very uncomfortable, and that doesn't happen too often, but there's not a lot. I don't feel there's a lot I can do about that. It's just how they feel. So yeah, as long as they've had a bit of warning and can think about it and decide how they're going to react. So
cool.
Yeah. Again, I mean, all that I learned since meeting Gail. And if I might sidebar for a moment, for 1 minute, I will say that this is pretty cool, because the last time we did this in 2013, on May the 30th, Gail and I came and did this pretty much this exact same chat, but we didn't know each other at the time. And that was the first time we met. And now we're husband and wife. Yay.
Yes, so, I introduced them. I get credit.
Did. Thank you, Shawn. She does. Yes. But in answer to your question, I did not do any of those things that Gail mentioned, just because I didn't really know. I was kind of floundering around in terms of my job searching. And I straight up put it on my cover letter, like in a kind of a funny way. And that was not the right thing to do. Like, it straight up was terrible. So, you know, now, as Gail mentioned, that since being with the city, I've applied for various positions, and people already know me. So they already have a perception of me ahead of time. So the jobs that I've applied to since working there, it's been okay. It's been totally fine, actually. But yeah, those like cold calls there, I should have 100% done that. Like what Gail mentioned is just mention it. Hey, you know, if you have any questions for me related to how I do my job, so on and so forth. Like when they call you for an interview, that would have been the smart thing for sure. That probably would have saved me a huge headache in a number of cases. For clients though, how do I deal with clients who maybe don't know me, or maybe they do? I've chatted with them a little bit if I have to meet them, but how I usually address it, and not only at work, but if I'm dealing with something, you know, meeting people for my various other projects outside of work, I'll just say, I have to meet them in a Starbucks or something. I had to meet this the developer for for this meeting that's doing a huge construction project behind us. I had to meet her at a Starbucks, and I was dealing with her ahead of time. And I said, by the way, here's my picture. I'm 6'2". There's no way you're going to miss me. I will miss you because I only have 10% vision, just to give you a heads up. And she's like, oh, okay, no problem. So I try to make it light. I try to make it zippy and just kind of throw it in there and make it humorous. And I feel like that's helpful, but not like at my own expense. That was the mistake I made earlier on a lot, was sort of trying to use humor at my own expense to chill people out a little bit. But you can do it in such a way that it's just, you bring a laugh to someone and then it's fine. So I think for me, sending the picture ahead of time and saying, hey, by the way, here's me, you know, I'm hard to miss. I'm a tall dude and I have a shiny head, you know, so you just kind of just throw that in there and it's okay. Right. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just have to say, like, I would disclose on my cover letter. So that's not, but
you did,
yes, but I was usually applying. Well, I was always applying for a job within the disability community. Okay. So I think
so it depends on the industry.
Yeah, it does. Like if it's relevant, if you can tie it into how it's actually going to make you a better person to do the job, then it's totally fine to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is how I did it. That's how I did it. I said, because I'm visually impaired, I've worked with technology for a number of years. That's right. We were talking about this last night and I couldn't remember, like, it's been so long now, it's terrible, but I couldn't remember. But that's what I said on my cover letters. You know, because I am visually impaired, I've worked with technology since the age of 4 or something. So I'm the guy. So I did try to parry it into something that was useful, but I think it was not a great idea. And another thing, when I was working, because before IT, I was trying to get a job in audio engineering because I went to school for that as well. And it wasn't an industry that, you know, was easily placed people for coming from school. But my thing was, oh, I'm visually impaired, so I can, you know, I really am great with my ears. Terrible thing to say. So I think it kind of, and this is my opinion, of course, but everybody needs to do what's right for them. But I think it's really important to, make it relevant and just be aware of the specific situation that you're going into. And I like Gail's idea way better, because it's like, it's chill. It just shows it's neither here nor there, but if you have questions, you're welcome to ask them in that framework. Mm-hmm. And I love that. You know, I love that because it legitimizes it, but it doesn't make it like a big, huge deal or make it, you know, falsely make it great or anything like that. You know, it's just, by the way, I'm tall, I hit my head on the door, you know, it's sort of like that.
Yeah. So, it's such a personal thing for everybody. Like some people are just super uncomfortable when people don't know, and then other people don't want, you know, and the reality is sometimes people will make judgments if they know. So it's so hard. It's a tough one. What did your parents do that really helped you be successful in your career?
So for me, my parents, there was an expectation that I did post-secondary, which I think opens a lot more doors. It's not, when I was in grade 12, I wasn't really ready for that, but it was just expected, so I did. And I did, you know, I learned what I liked and didn't like. You know, I thought I would go into chemistry, and then when I actually did it in university, I wasn't as excited about it as computer science. A really big thing is my mom was really big into volunteering. And again, it was kind of expected, and it's sort of something I've done throughout my life. And again, it helped me learn what I like to do and what kind of workplaces I enjoyed. So.
Yeah, for me, it was, my mom was and is super supportive. She's just really encouraging. She just knows that I can do the job. And she was, throughout my life, has always been extremely supportive and very, very encouraging. As I mentioned, I went through a stint there earlier when I was trying to get into audio engineering, and I went to school. I graduated top of the entire school in it, but then when I was, you know, going out and doing job interviews and stuff, I was always getting rejected just because, for whatever reason, like it was just, you know, it's not an easy industry to break into, for sure. And that was really disheartening. And my mom was just like, oh, no, don't worry. You're going to be awesome. You're super, you know, like just what a mom does, right? She was really kind and really, really nice. And she would drive me out to interviews, so I didn't have to take like a 2-hour bus ride, you know, sometimes. And it was really great. So I really appreciated that encouragement in a really difficult time. So yeah, thanks, nice. Mommy.
If you could give advice to your younger self about your career, what would that be?
So for IT, when I was in university, I thought I had to take a degree that was exactly the job I was going to do. And as I've met people in my industry, most people just did an undergrad in something they enjoyed. So I would kind of tell myself, like, hey, if you want to take a degree in math, but there's not necessarily a career path directly from that, just do it. Because it's the fact that you finished your bachelor's that will help you in your career. And then if you need a specific skill, if you want to be a coder or go into network admin, do the more technical college that's shorter and more specific.
Yeah. I think for myself, really it's just, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, it's when I go into a situation, and when I went into a situation when I was in my 20s and, even in my 30s, a lot of the time I wasn't confident in myself. And that was because that at the end of the day, the City of Vancouver at the age of 28 was the first job I ever had. The first one, and I don't admit that often. I did do contract work here and there, as I mentioned, but that was like, oh, here, I'll do a job for you that's like, a day or 2 days or something like that. I never received a paycheck, not even one, until I was 28. And when I was young, I asked my parents, my dad particularly, I was like, hey, can I get a job? My friends work at Subway. Can I work at Subway? No, your job is your work. That was what I heard a lot. Like your schoolwork, that is. And I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, I get to relax for the summer. Okay, cool, yay. It's fun. But so if I could go back in time and tell myself, my younger self, something, it would be go work somewhere, anywhere, work at McDonald's, work at Subway, go get a job somewhere. It doesn't, even if it's like you don't need the money, go for the experience. Because man, when I started with the city, I was petrified. I was like riddled with anxiety that I was way in over my head. I wouldn't be able to continue. I was going to make a fool out of myself. It was terrible, like really bad. And yes, I deal with anxiety as a person a lot. But that being said, if I had the experiences of working when I was younger, it would have made life so much easier in my case. So get out there and not, like just in wherever, like I said, Subway, wherever. I love Subway, by the way. And, I would tell myself that emphatically because, man, as soon as once I spent like, 4 or 5 months in the city, I was like, oh, okay, I might be okay. And after like 2 or 3 years in the city, I'm like, I'm totally fine, 100% fine. What was I worried about, And if I'd had that ahead of time, I would have been way more confident in my interviews. And confidence in interviews, it's so hard, and now it's great. Like, as I said, get ready for your, like, when you're older, man, because it's going to be so fun going into interviews. Like once you've had that and you can just sit there and just be like, how's it going? What's up? Oh, and just have a normal conversation with somebody and not be worried about what's going to happen. It is so freeing. And I really wish I would have had that earlier. So again, my rambling answer, sorry.
It's okay. I have a question. I'm just curious because Gail, you thought you wanted to pursue chemistry and work in a lab, and Shawn, you were kind of thinking maybe like psychology. Do you have any longing for that original thing that kind of interested you?
Not really. No, I haven't really looked back and wanted to do that. It's one of my cousins is actually a lab tech at a hospital, and it's grueling work. I'm kind of got the sweet, easy job comparatively. Plus, she had to do a lot of schooling after her master's, which she didn't know about. Like, yeah, I don't think I truly understood what it would mean to do that job. And
Right.
and it's stressful. And my job's stressful too, but I think hers is a different kind of stress, dealing with patients and doctors and stuff. So I think I picked the right one for me.
Awesome.
For me, I think for psychology, no, because that was everybody else telling me that's what I should do. And I didn't. I was just like, well, okay, I guess they know better than me. So no, I'm happy I made the right call. I mean, I guess it would have been better. Like Gail said, it's good to get an undergraduate or BA or something like that. That would have been good because I really only had another year and a half to go. But at the time, I was just too burnt out. I'd been going for so long, and at the time, there wasn't as much tech available. So, audio engineering, on the other hand, yeah, that would have been super fun, but the pay wasn't nearly as good. The job security wasn't nearly as good. And at the end of the day, I'm in a job I really enjoy. Um, and thinking about audio engineering, I was worried that I would actually lose my love for it, dealing with working on things that I didn't enjoy, because you have to deal with, maybe producing a ton of music, for example, or a film that you don't like and you hate it. And you're just like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. And I was worried my passion might have maybe vanished. But now I do all that stuff on my off time. So like, if I want to produce an album for somebody or something, I do that. Or if I want to work on my own music and release it or something, I do that. And I'm in control of that. And I don't have to worry about pay. I do it because I love it. So I kind of get the best of both worlds. And yeah.
Awesome.
And I could pay a mortgage with my wife. Yay.
And what about that vacation? A lot of vacation time.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 10 weeks of vacation after 15 years is insane. Like, that's just straight up crazy, in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you'd have to appreciate bureaucracy in order to work in that environment. I think there's quite a bit of red tape and stuff. So if that's not your thing, maybe it's not the best idea. But yeah, it's definitely definitely a plus for sure.
Don't get no 10 weeks vacation at a nonprofit, that's for sure.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I couldn't be away that long. I would be pulling my hair out, like wondering what was going on. So
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
that's true.
Thank you so much, Shawn and Gail, for being our guests. That was awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, really
That was
appreciate
tons of fun.
See you next
Thank
time.
you so much.